donation-wise, I have to say this is probably our highest time. I think every time that I actually walk out to the front office, I mean, our whole bench, the whole front has been covered. People are very generous. They do think about the animals, and I think that they want to make sure that they get toys and snacks. I mean, we get a lot of treats during this time for everybody too.
Also, food for the animals. I mean, they used to have a contract with somebody, right?
Correct.
And you pretty much got the food for free. Now you're having to get donations or pay for it or whatever. So that makes a big difference too.
It makes a huge difference, considering especially intake has been very high. We usually see a little bit of a decrease during this time. Not this year.
Why is that?
I am still thinking that owner surrenders have been pretty high, and I'm thinking still the highest this year that it ever has been, probably due to economy, people still losing their homes. A lot of elderly dogs were getting in, elderly cats. So, I mean, people are they're bringing them in, making appointments, and surrendering them.
The elderly animals, because I see them a lot here, do they eventually find homes, or they live out their lives here, or what happens?
Our success rate on adoption is pretty good. There's always going to be those few that, remain with us for quite some time. We do try to post. We have excellent volunteers that will post them on our Facebook anywhere they can. They take them out to different events like the Covered Bridge and PetSmart. So we push as much as we can. We have several great rescues that will come in and pull some of them. So if somebody's here a little bit longer than others, those are the ones that we try to push the hardest.
So we have a lot of owner surrenders. We also have the dog warden for the county will bring us dogs. And we also have city animal control will bring us animals. We do have
City being Ashtabula.
City being Ashtabula, yes. And then we have a lot of aside from owner surrenders, we'll have a lot of Good Samaritans bring in if they find an animal that's either been injured or not being taken care of, they'll bring them in as well. We get a lot of puppies and kittens that way that people just kind of run across. So.
And what is owner surrender? What are some of the backstories on that?
So an owner surrender can be anything from I got evicted and can no longer, house this animal to, my living arrangements, have changed and I've moved into an apartment where I can no longer have an animal, to something like, relative passed away and left behind this animal and no one in the family can assume responsibility, to financial problems. And sometimes we do get animals that come in for severe medical reasons and the people, financial constraints prevent them from providing care. And that is something that we do. We'll assess the animal and, decide if we can pursue treatment or if euthanasia is, is required.
So this is where there's an animal and the vet says there's a medical problem that's going to cost you a lot of money and they just can't afford it, so
sometimes that's it, and other times, we'll get animals in that people don't really know what's going on. They just know that something's wrong and they can't provide, they can't afford to take them to a vet. So we're always grateful that people bring their animals here so that they can get care and then go out and find a home again.
I know there's a policy, I don't know policy, but a structure on that. You don't just watch this video and you say, well, I'm just going to bring my dog in. Don't you have to contact here and make an appointment?
The number that you would call is the 440-224-1222. And you talk to one of the staff, or a lot of times because the phones are always ringing off the hook and we're always understaffed, you leave a message or you can email us through our website. It's acapl.org. And basically we set up appointments because we get so many animals in. We'll get anywhere from 5 to 15 animals every day.
Every day?
Every day. And that's both cats and dogs. And so we have a policy based on what our board of directors kind of feels, and the animal welfare director and we all don't really want to put anything to sleep. So we definitely go the extra mile with all of these animals to provide their care and get them homes. So everybody that comes in gets a really fair shot at going out again.
So that's got to be, if it's really expensive for the person, it's got to be expensive for
this. It is expensive for us. I mean, it's the average care here, it's several $100s every day for each animal. So if you multiply that by 50 or 75 and that's not even a quarter of what we have here. You're talking a lot of
So
cash.
when you're talking about several $100s a day, you're talking about the sick animals that are surrendered?
It includes the medication that we have to provide for them. It includes their food, the cleaning of their cages, the bedding that we have to provide, as well as the medications, the veterinary care. I mean, and there are only so many things that we can do here. A lot of times we do have to send out, we don't have an x-ray machine here, we don't have a lab here that we can run blood work, so that stuff is drawn and then sent out to other clinics or to other labs so that we can diagnose and treat more appropriately.
Our price is reduced if they're 8 years and older. But we also run so many specials throughout the year too, that the senior dogs are also included along with the young ones. I mean, so.
So especially the ill animals, it's very expensive to take care of them. And you're getting in so many dogs a day, that's expensive, and then you're giving discounts to people buying animals. So you're kind of squeezed, aren't you?
Yes. I mean, we do. We rely on donations. You know, in certain times of the year, I mean, again, people are Christmas shopping. They're trying to take care of their families. So it's hard, you know, to come in and maybe do some of the normal adoption prices. So we're running a special for Christmas. But it just seems to bring in more people. So throughout the year, we just have to do specials to try to alleviate the numbers.
Right.
When we're at a high number, it's definitely not cost effective to hold that many animals. So to keep the numbers down, that's how, I mean, we try to come up with different ways, but we definitely lose money by doing that.
So then you depend more on fundraisers, the Boo-Wow Walk, the spaghetti dinners, and
Yes.
the different things.
Yes, correct.
Some animals can range, you know, a single veterinary bill can be anywhere from $800 to $1,000 depending on what's going on with the animal. I know I feel like it's at least 50, is that right? It's $50 a day for just the general animal, but for a sick animal, it's easily $100 a day for the medication and stuff. And they're generally on medication for 2 weeks. Most meds are 2 weeks, so.
What was the number of animals you said come in a day?
5 to 15.
5 to 15. Now, are generally they in good shape?
It varies. I would say that probably 20% of them are in absolutely top-notch shape, and then you'll have another 20% that are absolutely horrendous in shape. You know, they've got really bad skin or really bad ears or hip issues or, you know, hit by car or things like that. And then everybody else falls somewhere in the middle of that spectrum. But most of the animals that we get do have some type of either a skin issue or they've been hurt at some point either by a car or, you know, by another animal a lot of times.
So do you have a lot of success stories, though? Do you see a lot of animals that come in this horrendous shape and leave and find homes?
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few that come in and do poor, you know, come in poor condition and leave. Some of them actually, people are really great. They'll come in and they'll adopt an animal that's on its way to recovery, and then we'll get the backstory. You know, they'll send us updates. But Scruffy is one right now that's, you know, on his way to success. He came in just a few days ago with really severe skin issues, really bad ears. He's a 15-year-old mixed breed, small breed dog. I think he's a poodle mix, and he. Just terrible skin, and with a few days of treatment he already looks 100% better, and so we're very hopeful that, you know, promoting his story, he'll definitely find a home. People definitely can relate to an old dog who's very ill, and a lot of people open their hearts to that.
Well, I see a lot of really old dogs that should be enjoying their last years, and instead they're in a cage here. And
yeah, the cost of owning an animal goes up as they age. You know, unfortunately in, you know, the veterinary world, we don't have insurance the same way that we do in the human world. So their cost, you know, it has to be out of pocket. We just didn't develop that as a society. So it does get a lot more expensive. They get things like hip dysplasia and tooth root abscesses and you know, cancers and a variety of other problems, and you know, those things are expensive, and a lot of people can't afford to treat that. And we do get a lot of owner surrenders in for euthanasias when they get to be older, and sometimes it's just a simple matter of, you know, finding the correct medication. and the old dog can go on for several more years. It's not something that's, treating old dogs for their geriatric conditions and old cats for their geriatric conditions is something that is new, probably within the last 10 or 15 years. So it's still catching up for some people, and we have a lot of older farmers in the community, and we've got a lot of people that have the mentality of, it's an old dog, these are old dog diseases, and that's how the majority of our county was raised, the majority of the world, really.
Of mice and men.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's just a matter of educating people that, there are actually things that you can do for your old dog, your old cat, to make them more comfortable and to ease their pain so that you don't necessarily have to jump right into, euthanizing them to release them from their suffering. We actually have medications now that do a pretty good job and are actually relatively cost effective.
How many do you are adopted a day?
On an average, I'm not sure if we ran that number recently. I'd like to at least think we're somewhere maybe around 3 to 4 a day. It just depends. Right now we're a little higher due to the holidays. We can have excellent days, but we try to say what's our busy day, what is not, but it fluctuates so much around here. You can have a mild Sunday, and then you can have a Sunday where, there's like 30 people coming in at one time. It's really hard to tell.
But you seem to have more coming in than going out.
We definitely have more coming in than going out, and we rely highly on our rescues that help us a lot, definitely.
So I know I've been involved with the APL for about 10 years now. Isn't it kind of depressing though? Or fighting, to some extent, a losing battle?
Yes. I've been here quite some time myself, and throughout the years, I would have to honestly say, and I'm not sure if because we put ourselves out there, we do the best we can. We try to save, medical, hit by cars, we try to do everything. So of course we do have to go to the public. We have vet bills that get very costly, so we'll post their picture asking for help. But I think that in the community, maybe things are changing a little bit, and people realize, we don't euthanize, for cage space. We're trying to do everything that we can so it never gets to that point. So we work very hard. And we now see a lot of animals that people can no longer afford. So it's pretty much, I'm going to take them to the APL and they'll go ahead and help it. And that's what happens.
I know that within the last 10 years there's also the neutering of the animals. You don't let any animals out that aren't neutered.
Correct.
Do you think that makes any kind of an impact? Because I think the thinking was that if the animals that come out here are all neutered, then you're going to get fewer animals later.
Yes. I think even promoting the Pet Fix program too. I thought it was like a rule of thumb, like maybe 11 years, you'd start to see a change of maybe how many cats you get in, and how many dogs. But I don't think I'm quite seeing that yet. And I do ask that question to a lot of people, and I don't think any of us have the answer to that. I'm just, it takes one person to have 4 or 5, say, barn cats that they still don't believe in spaying or neutering, and those offspring, and they just keep going and going. And it just keeps happening until everybody gets educated on spaying and neutering their animals.
What I was going to ask is education. I'm sure that there's all kinds of fallacies out there that it hurts them or it shortens their life or who knows what kind of crazy stuff that people come up with, and so
we still hear some of those crazy stories that people don't understand. But I feel though too that our job here is also to help educate people, to explain to things of any questions that they have. And again, if you got old school in their use of doing something a certain way, times have changed a lot over the years. We no longer adopt out outside animals. I'm pretty sure many years ago that was never a question from the shelter, but there's pretty much no place around that will actually adopt to an outside animal anymore. And we still get people in here that don't quite believe in that.
So they're going to put their dog out in the doghouse.
Correct. Yes, and they're going to chain it up, and that's going to be their guard dog or whatever the case may be. But I ask myself again, how can a dog guard your home when
On a
it's more
chain.
than 100 feet away on a chain in a doghouse that can barely even reach anywhere near the house. And you know, so again, it's those type of things that we're here also to explain why we do the things that we do.
Because I mean, I have heard people say, "Well, I'm going to have the dog outside. They're so full of animals, and I'm going to take good care of him, but he's going to be outside." So I don't understand why they don't let me take the dog. It's better than being homeless.
Right.
So what do you say to somebody like that?
Well, and we do hear that, you know, you'll not let the dog go to me, but yet you'll sit there and be overcrowded. Well, that's not true. We still have many adopters. Again, I mean, they're not going to be able to go anywhere and get a dog that they're going to allow you to keep outside. I mean, and just like the cats, the reason why most of the animals come to us in poor condition is either hit by a car, attacked by another animal. There's no way to control that if you're just going to leave your dog outside, out in the elements, and be exposed to anything. And especially being able to get off the chain. I don't know how many people will tie their dogs out while they're at work. I mean, they have 8 to 9, 10 hours to do nothing but try to get off of that leash, runner, whatever the case may be. Our wish list has been pretty much usually the same things that we go through. I mean, definitely our bleach, you know, laundry detergent. We still always need copy paper, paper towels, the any type of blankets and towels that we actually use here, and it doesn't matter what kind of condition. I mean, we pretty much use everything. And I mean, just donating time, just actually joining our volunteer group is a very good way to help. The animals need to go outside. The cats are allowed to come out of their cages and they can be played with on the floor. So there's so many different ways to help, and I always tell people too, instead of complaining, come out and join and be part of the solution, not part of the problem.
So you need people that will just go take a cat out and pet it, or a dog, or talk to them, or because some of the dogs I know are very scared.
Yes. And it helps socialize when they spend a lot of time, and definitely with cage behavior. You've been coming around a long time. Cage behavior can kind of get to some of them after a while, and they don't show themselves very well. But half the time you get them out of the cage,
they're fine. They
are the sweetest things ever. And again, I think when the dogs are out and then people come in, because we're pretty busy most of the time here, you know, they go, oh, well, that's the dog that I seen online. Wow, that dog's great. And it's nice having them out, and then people can view them and see them. And again, us doing PetSmart events, or I mean, any type of event that's out there, this way the dogs get exposure. And we take with the cats a lot of times too.